Hi, my name is Merwin and I'm a violinist with your Toledo Symphony. I'm so happy to be able to share a few thoughts about our Masterwork Series program entitled Parisian Classics with you. Sometimes programs hinge on the tiniest of coincidences, the smallest of moments. When Leopold Mozart was bringing his two children, Maria Anna and Wolfgang, on a tour of the royal houses of Europe, he brought with him dozens of letters of introduction to aristocratic houses. When he was in Paris, almost all of these proved totally useless to him, except for one. It was a letter addressed to Friedrich Melchior, otherwise known as the Baron von Grimm. Now, that's a pretty Germanic-sounding name, and Baron von Grimm was indeed born in Germany. However, he was a long-time Parisian resident and was thoroughly French. He was a fixture in French journalism, art criticism, and music. And this letter persuaded him to advocate for and even manage the Mozart children while they were visiting Paris. He even procured them an invitation to the royal family. So if not for that letter, the Mozart children would never have appeared at Versailles, would have never performed in front of Louis XV and Madame de Pompadour, and Mozart would have never, at the age of 7, tried to steal a kiss from Madame de Pompadour when he got refused, somewhat unceremoniously. Now, maybe because he remembered these great triumphs, 15 years later, the 22-year-old composer visited Paris again, along with his mother, Anna Maria Mozart. No longer the child prodigy, his attempts to secure permanent employment or to attain musical prestige while he was in Paris met with disappointment. And tragically, just 3 months into the visit, Anna Maria fell ill with typhoid fever and passed away. Mozart was, for the first time in his life, alone. The Baron von Grimm stepped in and offered to help the young composer. Mozart moved into the Baron's residence, and with that, the connection was created that really is the underpinning of this concert, because just across the courtyard, a common courtyard between two buildings, lived the other composer on our concert, Joseph Bologna, the Chevalier de Saint-Georges. Now, Mozart's life is, of course, the stuff of movies. We all remember the movie Amadeus. But the Chevalier de Saint-Georges, his life, that's the stuff of legend. His father, a French planter, his mother, of Senegalese descent, was enslaved in Guadeloupe. They were married, but then had to flee the area when his father was unjustly accused of murder. They fled to Paris, where Joseph, taking advantage of his father's title, would become very well educated. He would become a champion fencer, boxer, and even ice skater, an officer of the king's bodyguard, an aristocrat favored by the French royal family, a military strategist and organizer who fought for the French Revolution against said royal family, and then a prisoner during the final days of the Terror. He was also a sensational musician who brought to music the same versatility and talent that he brought to all of his other endeavors. He was an extraordinary violinist, a concertmaster, and a conductor. He founded, organized, and led multiple orchestras. And, of course, he was a composer. Now, for this brief 2-month period, these two composers would be crossing paths continuously. Mozart had already finished writing all of his violin concerti by this point, but he had ample opportunity to hear the concerti of the Chevalier de Saint-Georges. And what Mozart heard was a type of concerto that was really very, very different from the concerto that he had written. Mozart's concerti, well, to me, they feel somewhat more inspired by vocal music. Indeed, for a 6-month period, Mozart musical life was pretty much dominated by violin concerti and concert arias. The concerti of the Chevalier de Saint-Georges, on the other hand, are, well, they're informed very much by the composer's own accomplishment on the violin, and it's just prodigious. The concerti feature extraordinary bowing techniques and a significant use of the very, very highest register of the violin. This is very much the case in the concerto that we're presenting this concert, here performed by the extraordinary young violinist Randall Gooseby. The concerto is in 3 movements, and the first and the last movement really have this fleetness and brilliance that really shows off Randall's virtuoso abilities, while the second movement is extraordinarily tender and lyrical. Now, Mozart wasn't always a fan of Parisian music in general, and he was really quite negative about his entire Parisian experience. However, it would be really difficult to deny the influence of the Chevalier de Saint-Georges on the Austrian composer. Mozart would only write one more work prominently featuring solo string players, but it's a Symphonia Concertante. That's a form that features multiple soloists that was very, very popular in Paris, and of which the Chevalier de Saint-Georges was the prime exponent. If you ever have a chance to listen to that Mozart Symphonia Concertante, you can hear in that writing the extended virtuosity, a level of difficulty that far exceeds the previous concerti that Mozart wrote for the violin. You can also hear the dramatic and rapid alterations in the range of the instruments from the lowest pitches to the highest pitches and vice versa. Now, Mozart's very few successes in Paris actually hinged around a different form, and that was the symphony. Now, a symphony is a form that's more Viennese than Parisian in origin. And the symphony, the 33rd symphony that we're going to perform, was actually completed in Austria just after he had returned from his Parisian stint. Mozart originally wrote this symphony in 3 movements, kind of according to the Parisian style and the Parisian fashion. But when he had the chance for the symphony to be performed in Vienna, he added a 4th movement, the minuet, which really met the Viennese fashion and demand for 4-movement symphonies. It's a wonderful symphony, very, very elegant, very poised, more symmetrical than the works of Chevalier de Saint-Georges. The final piece on this program by the Chevalier is sometimes called a symphony, but it was actually written as an overture to an opera entitled L'Amant Anonyme, or The Anonymous Lover. Nowadays, we recognize Mozart as one of the world's preeminent opera composers. But at the time that Mozart and the Chevalier de Saint-Georges were near neighbors, it was the Chevalier who was being put forward as the next director of the Paris Opera, and the Baron von Grimm was actually one of his chief supporters. Unfortunately, several of the lead singers of the opera made a special petition to the royal family, pleading with them that they would not be subjected to the horrible indignity of taking orders from a mulatto. In order to preserve the dignity of the Queen, the Chevalier de Saint-Georges withdrew his name from that position. It's really a fascinating what if. The Chevalier de Saint-Georges did devote a large part of his career towards opera, but he was denied a life-changing appointment in that field due entirely to his race. We can listen to the vivacity and the effortlessness of this overture, which is in a 3-part fast-slow-fast structure, and we can hear the tenderness of his lyrical melodies and reflect on how individual incidents can really change the course of musical history. Thanks so much for spending these minutes with me. Enjoy Parisian Classics.